Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Blood Red podcast with me, Paul Gorst, your host for today. Joining me is not Ian Doyle or Joe Rimmer. We have got a little bit of an international break substitutes in the chair of Spirit of Shankly, Paul Kahn, and I'm reliably informed you're the vice chair, are you, Peter Hooton?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant to have you gents on. A little bit of a different podcast, this one, because obviously normally we talk about Arne slots Reds, what's happening on the pitch and all that sort of stuff. But this one, a little bit different. Going to talk through sort of Spirit of Shankly's origins and where it all come from. It's 14 years ago this week since Tom Hicks and George Gillett were ousted from the club, which is seems as good a time as any to talk about that. So just before we get into it, I do need to do some housekeeping and plug NordVPN. So to get the best discounts off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred, and our link gives you 4 extra months on top of the 2-year plan. No risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the podcast episode description box, as it usually is. So, like we say on this podcast, get on board with Nord. Gents, let's start then with the origins of Spirit of Shankly way back in 2008, was it? And how it all came about. And
2008, yeah.
Yeah, Peter, we'll start with
January 2008, and we were told at the time, the fans were like, were told by journalists, and I think some of the journalists were from the Liverpool Echo, believe it or not. Okay. And we were tipped off that Liverpool had put debt on the club, very similar to the way the Glazers had, which of course Hicks and Gillett claimed they hadn't done, you know. There was a complicated financial arrangement. Yeah. And they'd also interviewed, I think, Klinsmann in terms of behind Benitez's back, you know. So we held a meeting at the Sandon, which is the spiritual home of both Liverpool and Everton. And we decided to hold it there because of that, you know. And it was like a meeting attended by 300-400 people, you know, and there's a real atmosphere of we've got to do something here to try and save the club. And so that's how the Spirit of Shankly was formed. It was originally called the Sons of Shankly, but within a few days we changed it to Spirit of Shankly to be more inclusive, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You remember those days well, Paul?
Yeah, of course I do. Marching behind banners and doing different things, and fortunately enough, you know, we were successful in what we set out to achieve, and Hicks and Gillett left. And obviously, from, you know, it's gone on from there. Spirit of Shankly is a campaigning organisation. That's what we do. You know, our current sort of fight at the moment is about ticket prices and also trying to protect the matchday experience. But, you know, there's been so many other things. You know, you look at like 20's plenty for the away ticket prices, which SOS were heavily involved in. You look at, obviously, the walkout on the 77th minute when the main stand was going to go to £77. Then you look at Paris as well, like where we campaigned, you know, to prove the innocence of Liverpool supporters, and also to get a refund for people who purchased tickets. So, yeah, that's what we're about. I mean, we have expanded now, so I know we want to talk about community work as well, because what we want to do is give back basically to the people who help us. Yeah. So, you know, obviously, I know we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, it's come a long way, hasn't it, from, like you say, a meeting in the Sandon to try and sort of mobilise in whatever way that he could to try and sort of fight back on an ownership group that, you know, didn't have the best interest of the club at all. But you look at it, you know, how far the organisation's come now. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, over the last, 16 years? Isn't it? Yeah,
it's been a journey. And remember Tom Hicks used to say, you know, that's the noise, you know, they're a noise, basically to ignore them. But, you know, it was the whole fan base mobilised in terms of the internet. You know, it wasn't particularly the match-going crowd. I mean, I think the most we ever had was probably 5,000 on the marches. So it was probably 10% of the match-going crowd. But we had the internet. So when Tom Hicks was going around Wall Street trying to find new loans to keep the business going, people would say, "I've just spotted Tom Hicks," and we'd bombard then whichever bank he'd been in to say if you loan the money, you know, you'll have some problems and a boycott of your financial institutions. You know, so it really did work. And in fact, John Henry said, when he met representatives of Spirit of Shankly when he first took over the club, you know, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't think we'd be...
Yeah. So did they actually gain sort of knowledge of what was happening through through the work that you were doing? You know, like you say, the noise that George Gillett used to refer to, is that how we almost stumbled across what was going on?
Yeah, I just don't think they realised. I don't think they had ever encountered, and Liverpool fans had never really been protesters.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, leave that to the likes of Newcastle," you know, and that. But this was the very fabric of the club and the very existence of the club.
Yeah.
And I think we were trying to tell people that, you know, if these loans are defaulted, you know, you can go into administration and the club don't exist anymore. It would be in a Glasgow Rangers situation.
Yeah.
People didn't realise, I don't think, the gravity of the situation. We were trying to educate them and tell them. But it wasn't really until FSG took over. It was Eddie SV originally. Yeah. When they took over, the journalists started to investigate and say, look, they were 2 or 3 days away from defaulting on the loans, you know.
Yeah, I remember actually being on work experience after Liverpool Echo in, was it 2010? And the sports editor at the time sort of pulled me aside. I think I was maybe first, second year student, and he said, there is a suggestion that the club could go into administration here. And it was like, wow, if they've been mismanaged so badly to the point where that could even be a possibility, it seems unthinkable, really.
I mean, there's a fantastic book, Brian Reed's Epic Swindle. It, you know, really documents the story, like, and how close it came, basically, to the club going into administration. I think it's probably the first example of a set of supporters having such an impact in relation to actually getting the shut of owners. You know, so it shows what fan power can do.
Yeah. And obviously with you mentioned then about like how important the internet was at the time to aid in what you were trying to do. It's obviously only increased in recent years. How is social media and so on a tool to help you guys now?
Yeah, I mean,
he's
in charge of our social media. We just got Gareth Roberts basically who's joined us as well.
I mean, there's a few people who do the social media, but for example, when we protested with West Ham a few weeks ago, we were showing solidarity with West Ham because they've lost a lot of the concessions at the London Stadium, you know, for young people and pensioners and that. So they had a banner outside the Kop, stop exploiting loyalty, and we supported them. And you know, if you think about years ago when there would have been probably a bit of trouble between West Ham fans if they'd been anywhere near the Kop. And now we're there outside with a banner. I know I'd prefer. Yeah. I think it's very important, social media, because it can mobilise people. And I think other fan groups look to the Spirit of Shankly and think, you know, that's what we want to aspire to. You know, but you know, when we're in meetings and we're all scratching our heads, you know, it's not always plain sailing, is it? There's lots of arguments. In fact, in the very early days, you know, people would join the committee and leave more or less, you know, after they lost an argument on various issues, you know. But I think it was once Nicky Alt wanted to go to Tom Hicks Ranch and chain himself to the gates, and one of the Sunday papers were going to pay for it.
Really? Yeah.
But I think it got voted down.
Oh. You know. That would have been a great piece of publicity, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been. But, you know, for whatever reason, people didn't like the idea of dealing with a newspaper, you know, a Sunday newspaper.
I do, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But it's not just chain yourselves to texting ranches and stuff like that, is it? You know, there are other things that Spirit of Shankly do to, obviously, the football club, but the supporters and the community as a sort of wider community. There's plenty going on at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously fan support and food banks, which that's made up basically of 2 members of Spirit of Shankly, me and the Right Honourable Ian Baird, the MP for West Derby, and Dave Kelly and Robbie Daniels. Those 3 started it, I joined it later. Spirit of Shankly fund directly a pantry in Lodge Lane, where we provide food and clothes and basically other goods basically to people who need it the most. It's a great example of 3 organisations coming together with the same values, like an ethos, like of want to do the best to try and help people. So you've got SOS doing the funding and some volunteering. Basically, I go there every week. Then you've got fan support and food banks basically providing the logistics, and the Greenhouse Education Project provide the volunteers. And obviously with fan support and food banks, we have the collections outside the match, both at Goodison and at Anfield. And this has been replicated now right across the country, into Scotland, into Ireland. You know, everybody's sort of picked up on our model.
Yeah.
And we've just passed the 500,000 people fed in Liverpool point, 7 pantries. So again, it's a great example of fan activism.
Yeah.
Like, you know, all the people who are going to the game, you know, if you ever go down to the FSF collection point outside Anfield, you know, you've got people from all sorts of different backgrounds, including Billy Hogan, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think.
You know, you get all sorts of people coming along and donating food, and
it's just a brilliant example of how a small group of people can change society, really, and perceptions.
Yeah.
You know, we went to United the other week, and there was a delegation give them, you know, a food donation. And you get on social media and how to be singing about Scouts. But you got to rise above that, because, you know, as one of the slogans is, you know, football, what is it?
Yeah, Hunger doesn't wear club colours.
That's it.
Because it doesn't, does it?
No.
Like, so, you know, it's about putting differences aside. And it's exactly the same, really, with the campaign we've got going on now with Ticking. Obviously, which SOS are leading on, by the way. Like, we proposed the motion to the FSA. And obviously, we got the motion through.
The FSA is the
Football Support
Association for the listeners.
So, you know, that's linking clubs together. But, you know, it's us again who've took the lead. Really.
Yeah. So there was a meeting this week, I believe, about ticketing with yourselves and representatives from Tottenham, West Ham and Man City. Is that right?
There was basically a meeting last week with the FSA and the Premier League, and SOS attended. We just wanted to make our feelings clear that, you know, we don't want people priced out of being able to go to the match. We want more access for young people if we can. And we get criticised about that sometimes, but we're always trying our best to make that happen. Obviously, supply and demand is very difficult, isn't it? And yeah, you know, you look at ticket prices, I think since the inception of the Premier League, they've gone up 700%. And then if you look at things like, if you compare it to a price for a pint, like it'd be like, price for a pint would be £15 or £16. Like, you know, how would you feel about that? Yeah. You'd be having 2 pints instead of 4, and like so we just did a number of clubs, West Ham, Tottenham, City, who've been very vocal as well, and very supportive. And obviously, we're trying to bring other clubs with us, you know, representative groups.
Because there's so much money in football now, we're closely working closely with Kieran Maguire.
Oh, yeah.
Gives us all the statistics on, you know. So last day at the Standing Cop, it was £8 to get in. You know, that would be the equivalent of like £13, £14 now, you know, with inflation. And the Cop tickets are like over 40, you know. So there's so much money in football, but it's all tending to go to players and agents, you know. And we're saying, you know, if they're going to start looking at, because the TV deals are flatline almost, you know, even though they're absolutely massive, but don't tend to be going up in the last few years. If they're starting to look at the fans and going, oh yeah, they're the next people we can exploit, we're just saying, hang on, you know, it's not going on.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've introduced recently is, you know, me, Peter, and the management committee. You know, it shouldn't just be about us; it's about our members. That's all we're here for, to represent the members. And we basically asked the question to all our members via a survey, Monkey survey, and we've done this for a couple of things, VAR and other stuff. You know, should we be campaigning for lower ticket prices? And 92.8% of our members came back and said, yeah. So, you know, that gave me a mandate basically to initiate a discussion with the club. Yeah. And say to them, look, you know, we're not a one-man band here. You know, we've got a lot of members, and like, hey, this is basically, they gave us a clear mandate. And so, you know, that's why, you know, we raised the motion and blah, blah, blah. And so...
Yeah. You know, a few years ago, like the arguments to the Premier League were that, you know, if you don't have away fans, you know, the prices were going up, and it would have been £80 to £100 at Arsenal by now. We said, you've got to protect that group of fans who go...
It was basically the 20 is plenty.
Yeah, that creates...
That was 2016, was it?
That come in 2016, but we advocated... We went to an FSA meeting in Manchester, and we carried a motion to march on the Premier League in 2013.
Right.
So we got a lot of clubs together then. March on the Premier League. We were getting told Scudamore won't be there. He's on holiday in Barbados. Call it off. He won't be there. But he was there, and he met a delegation. And I think it planted the seed. You know, they're thinking of, if tickets are £100, for Liverpool away in London, you might get tourists going there, but you won't get your hardcore fans who create the atmosphere. I think that was that changed, and especially after the walkout on 77, which was initiated by the Spine Cup 1906, and we supported it.
Yeah.
After that, that's when it was all over the media of prices are getting too high, and that's when the Premier League brought in the £30 away cap.
See, and people said that was going to be impossible.
People wouldn't walk out.
No, basically on a £30 away.
Oh, right, yeah.
He said they wouldn't listen. He just said they're never going to listen.
Like, but basically, if you're organised yourself as well, and you're putting out the right messages, like you can achieve these things.
On that day,
people are saying to us now, aren't they? Oh, the ticket prices, you're going to get them down. Well,
and people are saying on the internet, I pay more. I can't get a ticket, so it's all, you're dealing with that all the time as well.
Yeah.
Even on that day, I think it was against Sunderland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were 2-0 up. We had no idea. We were hoping for a couple of thousand to walk out, maybe a few thousand. And then when a third of the ground walked out, it was just unbelievable, We had no indication that was going to happen, But people had had enough.
And they changed their mind, didn't they?
Yeah, there was a U-turn on that, wasn't it? And these things do have a material impact on what happens, don't they? Because it was back in March when they announced the 2% rise, and then there was the agreement to have the blackouts on the Kop. And a lot of people say that had an impact on the Atalanta game and so on. These things that you're doing towards...
But we don't do the flags on the Kop. That's Spine Cup 1906. But
we supported it.
Yeah, we supported it, yeah.
And these things, obviously...
There was only one way we could make a statement, really. And because... we're supposed to have constructive dialogue with the club about ticket prices. Yeah, we were just brought in and told, they're going up 2%, and we're saying, well, are we having a discussion about this? And no, that's it. So, we expressed our displeasure. Obviously, the supporters board had been set up, and SOS are on that, and we wanted to, we needed to think about a way, and 1906 came up with that idea, and we thought, it's the right way.
I don't think it affected the results. So, people say,
people
that was the reason. It was. I don't think Liverpool took them seriously.
Yeah,
I think.
But
in terms of
making the point is what I mean.
Not necessarily, it was a massive point. Yeah, and there've been black flags before. That was before the 77 walkout. There've been black flags, and it was a massive. Symbolically, it looked brilliant, because what 1906 is saying is they're always promoting the Kop as this unique experience. You come from all around the world to experience this. We'll give something back as well sometimes.
Well, that's our argument, basically, to the Premier League and to the clubs. They trade on the matchday experience, the matchday atmosphere. Especially Liverpool, the Kop is iconic, and Liverpool use it in so much of their marketing material.
Yeah.
And, so... You want to preserve that atmosphere. You want to make sure that the right people are in the ground. And that's part of what SOS is trying to do, to make sure that we preserve that matchday experience. So it's rooted in the community. And don't get me wrong, basically there's amazing fans from all over the country and all over the world as well. But it's important to make sure that the people who stand on the Kop, or sitting on the Kop, or standing now.
Yeah,
that we make that noise and make the club aware that people who tend to go on, who are on general admission and season tickets, they're not the richest people in the world. And, we just want to try and make it affordable, so we don't want these people priced out, really.
Yeah, I mean, we had the chance to speak to Billy Hogan in Philadelphia on the club's pre-season tour, and that was one of the questions that got put to him about the 2% rise in March. And to sort of play devil's advocate, he argued that the cost of utilities and the cost of running Anfield has risen exponentially in recent years because of what's happened with the main stand, what's happened with the Anfield Road stand, and all that sort of stuff. And the argument was also that in terms of an increase, it was probably one of the lowest around in the Premier League at the time. So there is a sort of counter-argument to what you were saying. Can you see where they're coming from on that at all?
We understand the argument, but our argument is that it's such a small amount of the overall £600 million that they take through. So raising it by 2% is going to add an extra 1 million or whatever, or 2 million. They've got loads of hospitality now on the Anfield Road. We were campaigning for like a section for young people, and that, or when the construction firm went out of business, that was on the cards then, and because of that booking, I think it was Gore, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then it got forgotten about. Oh, it's too late now because But if you look at the Anfield Road, and many matches, 10 minutes into the second half, and it's a third full, it's half empty anyway. I think if you look at that, I think if you want to create an atmosphere, you've also got to get young people on the cop as well. Yeah. I mean, we both know that when we were kids, we'd go on the cop, and you're enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And, we're always getting on social media, you're going to get the pensioners off the cop, and I can appreciate that, but you've got to have progressive ways of moving people to different areas so they can come into the cop and create that atmosphere.
Yeah, it's one of the sort of recurring themes, isn't it? The atmosphere. I mean, the atmosphere obviously is rightly lauded for games like Chelsea in 2005, for example, or we name hundreds of them, can't we? But there are also games where it's 12:30 kickoff and it's a bit flat. There's been a few this season, Bournemouth, I think, and Brentford. So what's the solution? Is it just one
I think
of those?
It's exaggerated as well. Because I remember the late great John Peel coming to Anfield as for the BBC. It was a BBC week in Liverpool, and he came to the Anfield when Brighton beat us in the cup. I think that was about 83, 84 season. Oh, yeah. And he came with a handheld mic to try and get the atmosphere of the cup, and he got nothing.
Right.
Because it was dead in those days. Liverpool were just used to winning, and there's complacency. So I think what your image of the cop in the 60s and the swaying cop in the 70s, by the 80s, because of economics in the city as well, it died down a lot. But it was always big for like big games, and also we went 2-0 down, and we had to come back. But I think there's been an attitude when we against Forest, for example, the atmosphere was okay, but then when we didn't score and when they scored, people were resigned, I think. Whereas years ago, that would have been get behind the team.
Yeah.
So there is a difference in that respect.
Yeah, it was one of those things that Klopp sort of changed, wasn't it?
Yeah,
well, he almost immediately.
He was brilliant because he turned around to the main stand and go, "Where are you all going?"
Yeah. I mean, he was still arguing with them to his final day. Around, if there was moans and groans and chances were missed.
But I think he was surprised by the demographic, you see, because at Dortmund, it's still a very, very working class, community based club, Whereas at Anfield, that's changed, and you've got to get the balance.
You have to remember in the 80s, I started going in 70s really, but I got my first season ticket in 83, 84. And I literally walked up. Basically, I got a half a season ticket. I just walked up the ground and bought it. I think it was about £18, £19. I think a full season ticket. The first one was 36 quid. And I think general admission there was about 70 pence, 80 pence. Now, you think about a young person now who's just starting out to work, like having to fork out, even if they got access to a ticket, £47 a ticket, that's going to take a big wedge out of their pay packet. And that's why the affordability thing is so important to think as well, because that could be a deterrent to the actual price for young people. You might get your mum and dad, bank of mum and dad, I'll pay for it. But it's not right. It was an affordable thing then. I always remember, it was about the same price to go to the pitches at that time. And you can go to the pitches for 15 quid now, can't you? Or 16 quid, and it's £47 or whatever it is for, football's just gone.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Paul, about the supporters board in terms of I think some people sort of get confused maybe what Spirit of Shankly is and what the supporters board is. Can you just sort of sum up what the differences are and you're on the supporters board but also you're the chair of Spirit of Shankly and how those two duties sort of intertwine, I guess?
Well, the supporters board was created when the dialogue started between SOS and the club after the fiasco of the European Super League. And SOS was saying, look, if we had some kind of mechanism to have constructive dialogue, and in fairness, the club acknowledged that, and so we basically signed a contract with them, SOS. But what we wanted to do is, and the club wanted as well, so it was a joint initiative, is to ensure that other fan groups were on it, so it was representative of all Liverpool fans. So, like the LDSA are on it, Cop Outs, the Women's Game, 1906, the OLSCs. Have we missed anyone else? I might have, basically, but it comprises of 10 members of Spirit of Shankly and 6 of other groups. SOS is a campaigning organisation, and the supporters board is supposed to be providing strategic direction, and sort of what is naming the club. So, like the ticketing campaign at the moment, we will be supported, I think, by some of the other groups who are on the supporters board, but that's not a supporters board initiative. That's basically a Spirit of Shankly initiative. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's, I really want to emphasise that SOS will never lose that. Some people have said in the past it's starting to become not as passionate and strong, but I can guarantee under my tenure while I'm here, I mean, I'm just one of, there was the late great Paul Rice, and then there was Franz Stanton and Jay McKenna, and then Joe Blott, and I'm just the latest. But I just want to make sure that we never lose the values that when Peter and the rest of the lads basically set it up.
The pressure group.
Yeah, with a pressure
group. Yeah. Because as I say, we're in contact with Kieran Maguire from Liverpool University, who does the Price of Football podcast, and he's been tipping us off, basically saying, look, the American ownership think the Premier League is underpriced, tickets, and that's what it's seeing happening. Concessions going, because that doesn't tend to happen in America, and they think it's underpriced and it should be £100 a ticket, So we know what's coming. So the battle lines are drawn in many ways. We know what they're going to try and do. And if you look at the London Stadium, what they've done at West Ham, and also they've done it at Spurs, concessions were gone, just overnight, no discussion. Yeah. That was it, And that's the model I think they're going towards, we're going to put up a fight if they're going to do that.
Yeah, I think, when I took over and did my initial tour to the members, I said basically it's always better to Giorgio than war. So it's always better to have a dialogue with the club first. However, basically, if the club aren't playing ball, we need to make it clear to them that we will be thinking about what we can do basically to influence their decision making. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like we're an enemy of the club, far from it. We want the best for the club, and we want the best for the supporters. However, if they're making decisions that we feel are not representative of good practice for fans, I think that we will.
Yeah. Well, you hear discussions all the time about Premier League games going abroad.
I was going to ask,
and that's that you can see that's what they want. They'd love Liverpool, Man United in New York, wouldn't they?
Just being over there in the summer for the 3 games, you can see how passionate the supporters are, and with respect, these games don't mean a whole lot. It's fitness building exercises. Players who aren't anywhere near the first team are getting 30 minutes and the supporters lap it up. So, you can see why maybe the owners look and thinking, can you imagine what could be made here if, there's a Premier League game on the line and whatever it is, New York, whatever. And I think it was Tom Werner who said something to that effect over the summer, and it's quickly distanced. I think John Henry said, he spoke for himself on that one. Yeah. But you look at the way the NFL has come coming over to here for games and whatever else. It's something on the agenda.
It's a different culture in the NFL, and that's what we're trying to explain.
You'll have to constantly bat that one back, I guess, for years to come.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we will do.
You know, but I mean, people are seeing it as like it's inevitability, you know, whether it's going to be 15, 20 years or what, I don't know, but people seem to think it's inevitable because of the ownership model with a lot of Premier League clubs, you know.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was the sort of the aftermath of Paris, and you mentioned Joe Bott there and the LDSA. Ted Morris did a lot of work actually in France to sort of turn the tide of how that was viewed and whatever else. How was Spirit of Shankly involved in that at the time?
Well, obviously, Joe Block was the chair of Spirit of Shankly, and Joe and Ted did absolutely outstanding work. There were other people basically behind the scenes who were obviously advising as well from the SOSMC. Can't really talk out on behalf of the LDSA, but obviously we all understood. I mean, straight after, within a week, we had a meeting in the church.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were trying to help people in terms of providing emotional support, like, you know, which was really important. Obviously, a lot of people suffered, like, and, you know, the trauma of Hillsborough, basically, like, you know, I look at basically Tommy Byrne, Ian Byrne's dad, and, like, he's so badly affected. It brought so many memories back about Hillsborough, and it did to a lot of people. And so there was one thing about obviously getting money back for fans and basically also clearing our name. And I thought to myself, what was... You look back, obviously, because I was at Hillsborough, and you look at the press coverage afterwards, and it was dreadful. But I'd say the majority of newspapers, especially international newspapers, you know, Peter did stuff, I did stuff.
Well, like, even on the night of Paris, we were answering emails back at the hotel to French journalists, putting out what has really happened, you know. And the great thing about it, we asked people to send in footage. Yeah. And the mobile footage really told them what happened. You know, so they couldn't deny, because everyone had the footage, like completely opposite to what had happened at Hillsborough. They could get away with those lies, but they couldn't get away with them after the Paris debacle. Yeah. Because, you know, everyone could see it was local youths that were causing all the trouble, you know, outside.
Yeah, it was a strange time, wasn't it, for a lot of people of a certain generation who maybe didn't experience Hillsborough, and that was the first sort of maybe unrest, or whatever you want to call it, sort of at a game. And I know people after that for quite a while actually were sort of like, don't know why we're bothering anymore, why we put ourselves through this. So it was great that the pool and supporters were able to sort of clear the name so quickly, really. Yeah,
it was, you know, a tremendous work by lots of people.
Yeah.
Lots of people. I mean, we were doing interviews it was on the front page of French newspapers for about a month, you know, because it was a political thing. Yeah. Because they had the heads of government.
Costera, did she walk in the end on the back of it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, she did walk.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. So it was really making the news, and a lot of the journalists were sympathetic to Liverpool because they knew what had gone on. So they were coming over to Liverpool and doing big articles on, you know, the ground and the ground area and the surrounding and the history of the club, you know. And so I spent about a month doing interviews with them, you know, Le Monde and all sorts of newspapers. And that pressure and Joe Blott and Ted Morris going to the Paris and at the Senate.
Went to the Senate, yeah.
You know, it was unbelievable what a fans group could do, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't too long after that, was it, that Joe stepped away and then you came on as the chair. What were some of your sort of early impressions of the role you've got now, and what were some of the challenges you encountered?
It's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So it's an awful lot of time.
Yeah,
very time consuming.
You know, it's every single day really.
It's its own sort of job.
Yeah, but you know, I'm honoured and privileged basically to be, you know, in this position and supported by a fantastic management committee. Like, I'd say with a lot more structure now, and the way we're doing things. Like, we've got different working groups with specialists in different areas. You you know, I'm lucky because I'm a season ticket holder, for example, but so I don't really understand a lot of issues that members have.
Right.
But obviously we've got the likes of Jay McKenna, and we've got Arne, and we've got Steph, people basically like who do understand, so it makes sense basically for that working group to be the spokespeople for that.
Yes.
I mean, when there's a ticket sale, we are inundated.
It's like that,
you know, it's as if, you know, and through the ticketing working group, we're trying to get solutions to the problem. Well, not the problem, but it's supply and demand at the end of the day. And, you know, I think the club would like to see less season ticket holders and more memberships. You know,
the club
like,
deny that.
Yeah, they deny it. But you know, I'm saying, you know, I'm presuming that's what they'd like. You know, but so when people go into these ballots and sales, you know, it must be horrendous because they don't know whether they're going to get them, and they got to take half a day off work.
Yeah,
doing it. You know, and that's what the frustration is, and they don't know whether they're going to get them. And then season ticket, and it's, you know, then they start blaming season ticket holders. You get all the privileges, you know, and season ticket holders are saying in the ballots, why are members in with us, you know? So you got to get a fight, you got to get it. And like Phil Dutton at the club, you know, it must be an absolute nightmare for him, you know.
Well, obviously the club say that they've been attacked by bots very, very badly, which has caused obviously the system to crash on a number of occasions. It just tends to come back. What are SOS doing about it? Well, we don't actually control the system, you know.
But my kids are members, so I know the problem. You know, they can't get the tickets, and you know it's hard. You know, but I think you know, people look at it. It's, you know, if there's 300,000 applications for, like, you know, 20,000 tickets or whatever, you know, it's impossible, isn't it? You know?
And that's obviously, I mean, Liverpool for decades and decades has been a huge sort of sporting institution, but certainly I've found maybe the last 6-7 years, particularly when Liverpool got back into the Champions League and then the sort of march to Kiev and the culture around Klopp and all that sort of stuff, it just felt like Liverpool, you know, fan base just went like that on top of what it already was.
Certainly did after Istanbul. But I think Klopp coming back was another catalyst for that. Yeah, no doubt about it. And by the way, I'm not saying there's 300,000 members. That was a slip. Nice. I mean, we don't know how many members there are, but you know,
it fluctuates.
It fluctuates, but we think there's, you know, a substantial amount.
Yeah. So it seems as though obviously the kind of main issue for you guys is ticketing. You know, be that the conversations you're having with the club, the members coming to yourselves and, you know, airing their grievances. And
it's ticketing and match day experience.
Right.
Protecting the atmosphere. I think that they're the two, like, really big things that we want to, as Spirit of Shankly, you know, really work on. And it's difficult with access to tickets, obviously, because, you know, it's supply and demand, isn't it? And people have there's a myth flying around that Spirit of Shankly get tickets off the club, which I can absolutely assure you we don't.
Everyone on the committee is banned from taking any offers of anything. No, we're not the Labour Party.
Yeah, save us for tickets.
You know, we everyone's banned and everyone finds out to be off the committee.
Yeah.
You know?
I suppose you've got to, haven't you? Because once that becomes allowed, where do you stop and then leave yourself open to criticism, I guess?
But one of the massive things we've been able to do over a few years is the community stuff. You know, not just the fan support and food banks, but we've got a welfare rights in Home Baked, which is right outside the COP, you know, and that's brought in, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds into the area, into the local community, by people not being, you know, like pension credits, you know, and people not being on the right benefits or whatever. So it's basically able for the community to go in and just ask a few questions because people are unaware and they're not going to be told by the government that you should be applying for this, you know. Yeah. So we've got the figures of welfare, of the welfare rights of the Vauxhall Law Centre who do it for us. You know, it is hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah. So it goes far beyond football, and I guess it's a community.
Yeah, Paul, basically, for young people, we've set up, or Peter's been instrumental in setting up via the church, so that we have music
The church, the pub, not the church,
Yes,
as an institution.
It's your baby, so you wanna explain
Yeah,
to
well, thankfully, because we've got some great donations of people, we've been able to put on arts club on a Monday in the church pub in the basement. We have guitar, music workshops. We also have a drama class who are doing the history of Liverpool and Everton, and they're going to be on the Lighthouse hopefully at Christmas. A performance of young people's what they've learned about the history of the clubs. So we're able to do that because of these substantial donations we get. And obviously subscriptions from members and that. So it's really, and what we were thinking of was, what would Bill Shankly do? That's what we were always thinking of. And he'd looked around the Anfield area, and it's really deteriorated over the years, from what it used to be when Shankly was there, and some of that's the responsibility of the club, and all the residents know that, So we wanted to put something back into the community, and the LFC Foundation do as well, But I think over the years, because there was the Cameron Road situation years ago when the two sisters wouldn't move, but for years they tried to expand the ground, and then you had the similar problems when the main stand buying up properties and nobody knew who owned them and that, So really, it's a way of the SOS putting something back into the community.
So there's 3 clubs now, isn't there?
Well,
There's 3.
Yeah.
So you've got your music, arts and drama.
Yeah, arts and drama, yeah.
Brilliant.
And we're hoping to expand as well in the future,
And then there's the community stuff we do, we started off a couple of years ago doing Christmas thing for pensioners. So we do that from the church. We provided free 3-course meal and drinks and entertainment.
Yeah.
And Reds all over the land, I've got to give them a shout out to John Pearman. He helped us fund that last year. There was a Kevin Keegan night, and he did a raffle, and he raised £4,000 and gave it to us, basically to enable us to do that. And we're very fortunate like that people do things for us, but then we give it straight back to the community.
I mean, the people in the church have been brilliant.
I think
they gave us the basement, which is open on match days, but is not used through the week apart from us.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the other day, I get a few more things on for local residents, and we'll do it if we can.
Feel like I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but obviously with your close ties with Ian Byrne and so on, have you had any conversations about helping out with Zoe's Place's plight and what's going on there?
Yeah,
we have.
We're looking at it now.
Yeah, we're looking at it. Setting up our own Spirit of Shankly, Zoe's Place.
Yeah.
We made a substantial donation to Spellow Lane as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Zoe's Place is definitely on the radar and what we can do basically to help. What a terrible situation that is. That's what. Yeah, we'll definitely be doing something to help Zoe's Place.
Absolutely, tons going on by the sounds of it.
I think just to finish on the community stuff, because you've got Foxhall Law Centre, you've got Transport Food Banks, you've got the Greenhouse, you've got the church. We haven't even spoke about the Shankly Cup, what we do basically.
The Shankly Cup is brilliant, and Stephen Monaghan organised.
Yeah.
It's all these organisations basically who've all got the right philosophy and wanting to do things. And I always use a quote by Gil Scott-Heron, basically, nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. And by us all coming together as one, we're trying to make a difference on, a number of different platforms, whether it's community work or whether it's basically the matchday experience or whether it's ticking. And, we're more than willing to work with organisations who've got the same ethos as us and try to improve things for people.
Yeah, that's the idea,
Brilliant, yeah. Sounds like there's absolutely tons going on. Just before we finish off then, just thought to get your thoughts on how it's all gone on the pitch. 10 games in for Arne Slot and...
pleasantly surprised. Nobody really knew what to expect, did they?
No.
But obviously the backroom staff at Anfield had done the homework. I think Klopp was... I've said this a few times, but Klopp was he was a whirlwind, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He came in, the air was getting punched, there was statements left, right and centre. And Arne Slot's he's more like a Paisley type figure, isn't
Yeah,
he? Dead quiet.
That's the analogy I've heard a lot, actually.
Yeah. So I think, you know, obviously it's a big test in the next few games. You know, Chelsea at home and you know.
I love the fact as well that, you know, I think one of the journalists, I think it was a Sky journalist, said it's been a fantastic start. And he said, no, it's a really good start.
Yeah.
We have won every game.
Yeah.
And what he said was, you know, like, he's not me, you know, when we haven't played, we've played in patches, haven't we? Like, you know, have a brilliant first half and a brilliant second half. And, you know, and the thing is, he speaks the truth after the game. Like, you know, and he's turned around and said, you know, the teams that we played so far in the league, you know, really we should be expecting to beat them.
Yeah.
So you can see that his head's not in the clouds. Like, I think he's totally aware of the challenges moving forward. And
I just love the way an ex-Echo journalist man marks him all the time. Every time he's interviewed, Tony Petty, 2 or 3 yards behind him. There's been a seamless transition from Tony, from Klopp to Slot, you know, and it's brilliant to see. You know, it's continuity in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's underselling it a little bit when he says that, you know, Liverpool, you know, says we haven't played anyone yet, because bit of a cliche, but there are no easy away games in the Premier League, and they've gone to Wolves and come away with the points. They've gone to Palace, which is always tough. They won that, and the record at Old Trafford isn't great, is it? They've gone there and they've beaten them well out of sight. You know, Nottingham Forest aside, it's been pretty much perfect.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I mean, as I said, that was the surprise. He basically picked up on it. You know, it's not a brilliant start. It's a very good start because we've lost one game.
Yeah, I think everyone, and he's not going to be one of those controversial managers, is he? I don't think.
Doesn't seem it now.
Can't see it
He
being
doesn't
that.
suffer fools,
you know,
but he's not going to create big headline sound bites.
Yeah, I mean the 12:30 game, he was, you know, didn't really come out with anything about that. Did he really? You know.
I mean that's been quite key to him, just sort of underplaying things, not saying anything too major either way. But yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, and hopefully, we carry on.
To fill Klopp's shoes is just like virtually impossible, isn't it? And it's great that he's not trying to be Jurgen Klopp. He's being his own man. And, you know, let's all get behind him. He mightn't have the charisma of Jurgen. Don't think anybody has.
No.
Like, so, you know, he's a one-off. So, yeah, you know, let's get behind him. I've said in my little message in the newsletter this week, you know, got Chelsea on Sunday. Let's make it like 2005 and 2007, and show Slot what the Anfield do. Yeah, you know, let's do it.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect way to sign off. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in.
Been a pleasure.
Paul.
Cheers.
Thank you.